Hello, everyone. This is Sam over at ScorpioRisingAstrology.com, and we are here today for another round of the Sign 101 series. It is Friday, so we are doing Taurus and Libra, the two Venus-ruled signs. And we are going to focus on this video on Libra, the sign of the scales, the sign of justice. Lots of symbolism in this one, but also repetitive symbolism. Libra has some very well-known beautiful traits and some very well-known not so beautiful traits. So let's unpack those together, shall we? Okay, Libra PowerPoint, here we go. So Libra 101. And when I think of Libra, the term that often crosses my mind is peacekeeper, because every Libra that I've ever known in my life has this common thread of needing to be the one who comes to the defense and the rescue of those who are weak. And also to be the one to balance out the chaos. They're often not going to be the nicest ones in this process, but they will not always be the mean ones in this process either. This is what makes Libra one of those signs that's a little bit too confusing, is you never really know what angle they're going to take, because as a sign, they embody both characteristics of any given spectrum. And this is something that we see a lot with Gemini as well. But specifically with Libra, there are individual reasons why this is. So let's go ahead and look at the peacekeeper Libra, tongue-tied. This is what I get for filming during a Mercury retrograde. Okay. So here is, frankly, one of my personal favorite images of Libra. Libra just kind of back turned to the audience, doesn't really care about you, cares about what is right. And you can see the head is kind of tilting down towards the scales, really could not give a rat's ass as far as what is happening in the background, but is only really concerned about what is fair and what is balanced. And this is something that Libras will display very readily in a social setting, is because they are ruled by Venus, ruling planet Venus, kind of skipping ahead on some of the stats, there is a niceness to Libra, there is a beauty to Libra, there is a charisma to Libra that makes them so juicy and so delicious as people. I'm a huge fan of Libras. But at the end of the day, that sweetness definitely is complemented by its own sourness. And I think a lot of that has to do with symbolism and aspects that we'll kind of cover as we go. So Libra's element is air. Again, when we think of the elements as representing themselves in the four astrological signs, air is the most ungrounded element. It is the element that tends to change the quickest. It is the element that tends to be the most flexible. It is the element that is also the most independent in a way. Air is also the element of intellect. It's a very mental element. And because of that, Libra has a gifted mind in most cases. They will often play dumb. They will often play dumb. They will often play aloof. It is a game. It is a game. It is not something that, and this is me kind of spilling the tea on Libra. So sorry, Libras, if you're watching this and I'm giving away some of your strategy secrets. But the dumbness, the aloofness that Libra likes to feign is not correct. It is in fact part of the dynamic, part of the game that they play. And the game is super fun and delicious, and they will equally be as interesting and interested in you, in the conversation, in the social groups, in the dynamics, and then immediately turn off as their attention is distracted by something else. And that is the air element at play, very much. When we look at Libra as a sign, another virtue that we see is cardinality. So as opposed to the stubbornness of fixed signs, the mutable all over the placeness of mutable signs, We have cardinality in Libra, which is really what gives us the leadership qualities, which is what gives us the need to constantly move forward, which is an interesting pairing when we talk about some of the weaknesses of Libra, specifically indecision, which we'll get to. But cardinality of Libra does make it one of those signs that is initiating or initiatory. They will often be one of the signs that's first at bat when they start to smell something that needs to change. Libra is actually very good at making very split decisions when things need to change and when chaos reaches a certain peak. But unless chaos reaches a certain peak, Libra's indecision starts to take over. And part of that is really the basic symbol of Libra being the scales. One side will always be heavier than the other. There will always be a balancing act with Libra. There will never be a one-sided argument with Libra. Everything will always have two sides. And because of that symbolism, we can also see justice being an important theme for Libra, the need for justice to be blind in a certain extent, which is another reason why I like this image, is because the image's eyes are focused just on the scales. They're not looking at you. They don't have inherent bias. And that's really another trait of Libra's cardinality coming through, is that one of the signs of a good leader or a good leadership sign is that it does have a streak of independence, that it can use its own decisions to operate, as opposed to the mutable signs or the fixed signs which are too stuck in their own routines, and the mutable signs which are kind of all over the place and very much looking at the context of a situation. Libra will weigh context, but Libra will make a decision when that situation is vital. And here we come to the highest virtue of Libra, which is the idea of justice. And paired with the concept of the peacekeeper, I know no other sign that is as willing to help another human being as Libra. Now, when I say help another human being, I mean with no strings attached. Cancer, blink, blink, right? So every sign has its motives, and every sign has its reasons why they do things. Libra acts in the scope of justice because it's the right thing to do. And I don't really see that in a lot of the other signs. There's always some sort of ulterior motive, whether it be personal gratification, whether it be the emotional attachment of others, whether it be for their own gain or their own self-image, or just out of the curiosity of it. Libra is the sign that will fight for the people who cannot fight for themselves. And I think that is truly the highest virtue of this particular sign, is its inherent faith in justice. Now, the deepest weakness of Libra also has to do with the scales as well, which is indecision. And when things are a little bit too close to balanced, that's when Libra cannot make a decision to save their goddamn life. And I say that with a certain amount of frustration, because although I love my Libras very much, when the situation is non-life threatening, like choosing a restaurant or a color to paint the walls or when to meet, these trivial questions that do not require a life or death answer are completely put on the back burner. And the analysis paralysis is so real that I've literally had Libra experiences with clients as well, where they won't get back to me for months, because of this level of indecision. And it's always, I kept thinking about it and I kept thinking about it, but I couldn't really come to a decision, and I kept thinking about it. And then you would pop into my head and then you would be gone again. And it's like, okay, fine. Libra just has that ability to be indecisive when, again, the context is when the situation does not have a clear right or wrong in their own minds. Now, when it comes to whether something is morally right or morally wrong, they will argue that as well, but at the end of the day, they will choose the morally right decision. Libra, however, when it comes to daily tasks, is one of the worst signs when it comes to analysis paralysis. So understanding that is a big part of understanding Libra, which is in conflict with its natural cardinal nature. Cardinal is the leadership virtue of the three. It's about initiating, it's about taking charge. But, you know, whether it's, do you want, you know, chicken or fish for dinner? Like, well, why don't we try vegetarian? You know, but I'm not really feeling in the mood for vegetables. Well, I want something with a good sauce, but also, you know, something with a good char on it. Like they'll just constantly waffle back and forth. So that's highest virtue, deepest weakness. Now, there are some needs for Libra. First and foremost, Libra needs a cause. And this also helps build its case towards certain decisions, right? A cause that Libra believes in and will fight for helps to balance the context of their life. And that also leads to less indecisions, right? So Libra as a sign really does need some sort of flag, some sort of banner, some sort of mission statement, some sort of organization to follow and to believe in. Another thing that really comes in great amounts of handiness for Libra is the idea of faith. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be a religious faith, but it is a faith in humanity. It is a faith in the highest good. It is a faith in the decency of people. Yeah, it is even a faith in the fact that everything changes, right? But one of the things that Libra does need is a strong faith to, again, guide and push their moral compass. Another thing that Libra needs, and this is something that isn't necessarily something that they will confess to, but it is something, again, that is really important, is having friends, having family, having people in their lives that will influence them, that will put their finger on the scales of those everyday decisions. Now, you cannot change the mind of a Libra on some of these moral issues when their fate and their cause, their faith and their cause are kind of set in stone. That is a losing argument, right? But when it comes to the everyday decisions, they do need somebody to take initiative for them in a lot of cases and to create that influence, create that context to say, well, you know, of chicken or fish or vegetarian or saucy or, you know, burnt stuff, I really think that we should just like go for Indian. And then help them choose from the endless Indian menu that is notorious. So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. We need somebody in a Libra life to influence and to provide context on the everyday decisions, just so that they have somebody in their corner who's helping to direct the focus of their scales. Libra is smothered by everyday options. We've kind of covered that in depth. Again, everyday options when it comes to the moral or virtuous aspect of Libra, there is no indecision there. Libra is also smothered by distraction as an air sign, and all the air signs are really prone to this, even Aquarius as a fixed air sign, but distraction like squirrel. You know, that is very much an air sign quality, to be distracted by things that are shiny, are new, are fresh, are more stressful. Yeah, Libra also has this really, really bad habit of weighing things, and then something more important comes along and they just throw everything off the scales in order to weigh this more important thing, and they never pick up this other thing that they were weighing or considering until you bring it back up, which is, again, influence and context. So Libra will be smothered by distraction. And then another thing is closed-mindedness. If there's one thing that Libra absolutely cannot stand, it's somebody who's not willing to see both sides of an argument, an equation, somebody who walks into a room and has too much conviction for the wrong reasons, and they're not willing to have a conversation or a debate about why they think that way. Because when Libra meets that closed-mindedness, often it's somebody who has been hurt or who has a lack of faith in a lot of the things that they've come to know. And it's just really difficult for them to not just, not argue or balance, or for the context to be too heavy in this case. But it's also really depressing for them to see somebody who is beyond their help, beyond their peacekeeping abilities. When somebody's already made up their mind about both the problem and the solution, Libra can be of no assistance, and that's absolutely crippling to who they are as a sign. Okay, cool. So that is Libra in a nutshell. One of my signs that I find most interesting. Continue to watch for your sun, your moon, your rising sign, all the signs, all 12. We'll be doing them, throwing them up on the YouTube channel, having a blast doing it. As a reminder, I am a professional astrologer, so if you have Libra placements that you would like more information on, we can always go one-on-one, schedule a private consult, and talk about some of your natal placements. Likewise, if you're interested in the signs, you can always find some online classes on my website. Just go to scorpiorisingastrology.com. You'll see consultation info, price list, as well as online classes on astrology basics there. And in the meantime, as we continue this sign journey, may the stars be ever in your favor.